Good morning, everyone. So I'm doing a new book today, and the book I'm doing, it's not something that we do teaching on with John Maxwell, but I'm doing it, and I hope my friends and people who are in business will learn from it, because as I'm learning, I'm sharing what I'm learning with others. And this book is There's No Such Thing as Business Ethics. I think there are some trainings that we can offer, but normally we don't do speaking on it. So this is just what I'm learning and I'm sharing as I'm going. So the title of this first chapter is that what happened to business ethics, because you'll find that the companies that are multi-million-dollar companies are the ones that are being caught for violations on ethics. And I understand sometimes people don't understand what the rules are, what they're supposed to be doing. But with some of the companies, it's not that. It's something that they're promoting and that they're doing intentionally. So the examples that John Maxwell gives is the example of Enron, when they admitted to using accounting practices that inflated their figures by 586 million over a 4-year period. And yet they were like the smartest guys in the room. They were the people that all of us looked up to, all of us wanted to be like them. And we've had similar situations in recent years where we've had companies like EY, TD Bank, and people have backlash because of the loss of trust. Because at the end of the day, we feel that we need to trust people. And having contracts, having rights and responsibilities doesn't negate that trust, because you can have a binder full of governance, of laws, of ethics, and if there's no trust, it doesn't help. And our trust in our institutions has fallen. So John Maxwell is giving 3 reasons why we have a problem in ethics. And he's saying that it's because, 1, we do what's most convenient, and because of an ideology that was promoted in the 60s that says you have to do what's best for you in a situation. So it's not doing what's best for you and everybody else involved. It's just doing what's best for you. And it's a course that they taught in the US at their colleges. St. Paul's Cathedral in Cincinnati, Dr. Joseph Fletcher published a book called Situational Ethics. So often you'll hear management in North America talking about situational ethics. That's what they are talking about. So for those of us who come here from other places, we have to learn the language. We have to understand what they're talking about when they use some of these terms. So that is something that I learned from reading this chapter. It's not something I knew about. The second point that he makes is that companies and people do what they must to win. So you'll see this in sports. You'll see the drugs that people take, performance-enhancing drugs. You'll see it in companies that decide they need to have people work overnight, even if they're sick and even if they have doctor's notes like me. And if you don't want to do it, well, as far as they're concerned, that is hardship to the point that they can't accommodate you, which really it isn't, because there are other opportunities they could put you forward for, but they just won't do it. So they do what they must to win. And the only luxury that they can afford to give up is their ethics. So they will make those choices, and they don't want to look at what the moral choice is, because as far as they're concerned, the moral choice is only in the church. It's only in sacred institutions. But those of us who have grown up with the sacred being present in everything, including our work, it's a different way of looking at things. And then the third point is we rationalize based on relativism. So again, it's this coming back to that what you did or what you worked for you in Africa, it's not going to work here. So you'll find that if you look at how people are addressed in Africa, the political leaders, they call them Your Excellency. They don't call people Your Excellency here, because as far as people are concerned here, they are not excellencies. And it's taking it back to a tradition that came out of the monarchy. So people in Canada and America, they don't call people Your Excellency. And their titles are just titles, like King Charles. He has a lot of power, but all of us are serfs under him. He's getting all the money from the taxes and the lands and everything, but we are just their minions to do the job. So people have rebelled against that, and people are saying that they want things to change. They don't want things to carry on like this. It's the same thing as when I'm working. If I go into the bank to apply for a job, my income fluctuates because it can go up 1 month if I'm given overtime. The next month it can go down. So I have to estimate. And most times they'll deny it because my debt ratio is too high. But by denying it, they're putting me into a worse situation, because people need that money. They need to be able to take out loans and to be able to find work. If I was somebody that had no skills and had no education, and somebody that did not contribute to Canada, America, the UK, South Africa, then yes, you could say, yeah, you know what, she's a really bad risk. But they're not looking at that. They're only looking at the ratios. And also, when I applied for loans, when I apply, I include my mother because I'm responsible for her. If something happens to her husband, I'm the one that signed the papers. And my sister helped me. My mother wanted to live with her. The family advised my mother to go and live with her, so she went. And again, the onus comes back to me, because if the bank says, oh, we don't know if somebody is living with you, I tell them, I include her because I'm responsible. I'm the one that signed the papers. So we have to be aware of what we are doing and what we are putting down on our papers. And again, it comes back to, what do you call situational ethics? If the US was so big on situational ethics, why did they allow Elvis Presley's dad to inject him with drugs and put him on that stage, when they knew that probably he needed to rest and he needed to not go onto that stage because the money mattered more than his life? Isn't that what it comes down to at the end of the day? Even with baby Charlie, even when President Trump intervened and the Pope intervened, the parents had no say because they gave the court the power to decide that that child would not live. The personal decision is being taken away from us in this country and in countries around the world. And that's what ethics is supposed to be about. So we have to also take our part in responsibility and in what we're doing and in how we are living our lives. Because I can assure you, I have done everything I can to get a job, including going door to door. And this is what happens to me over and over and over. Companies will let me go, and then I have to go walking the streets, handing out resumes, talking to people, knocking on doors, networking. And it's not fair to me. I apply to thousands of jobs through agencies, through companies, and then when I get into that job, people cause problems for me, setting up calls. Oh, she's sweet, she's sweet. Oh, Eddie just wanted to be friends with her. And everybody's tired of it. Everybody's had enough of it. Everybody's pushing back because women like me don't deserve it. Other companies, they'll rely on the law. But how do you determine what is right? Just because something is legal, does it make it right? Elvis Presley, everything that was done to him was legal. Did it make it right? Everything that's being done to me is legal. Does it make it right? When apartheid existed in South Africa and our racist laws in Rhodesia and segregation, it was legal. And it was, in the eyes of the Crown that was getting our tax dollars, it was right. But was it right? Was slavery right? I took a course on slavery with Gordon Rickson, and he showed us the place where they had a place where they used to keep the slaves, and there was an opening out where the ship used to dock. And in the morning, that sunlight used to come into that tunnel, and then the slaves knew it was time to get up and go onto that ship. And they were all chained together. I've watched movies about how they threw them overboard alive because they ran out of food or they had problems on the seas. It was legal. Did it make it right? So that's what we're talking about when we talk about ethics. The other point he makes is that we call it an ethical flea dip. It's about as effective as a flea dip when a dog's environment hasn't changed. The fleas come back. So if the environments that we're living in is promoting corruption, is promoting people carrying on doing what they're doing to women and men like me, and saying, oh, well, we followed the law, we've done everything we can to accommodate you to the point of hardship. What hardship? It's a multi-million-dollar company. When TD let me go, they could have transferred me. They could have sent me to England. They could have sent me to Singapore. It's a worldwide company. They didn't. And I had the management skills. When companies talk about your refund, they say, oh, you're going to get your refund in 60 days or 90 days. Why do you think they're doing it that way? First of all, because they're holding that money for that 30 days, and then they transfer it, and then the transfer between the banks will take another 5 to 10 days. So the bank holds that money for that time. They're earning interest on it, and then you get your money back. But when people call customer service, they take it out on us. They're like, I paid you that money, so why don't you just make sure I get it? And then they scream at you and yell at you and abuse you. And then what does the company do when there's job cuts? They let you go first because you were the top performer. You did a wonderful job for them. But, oh, you failed the American test for the next job, so we're not going to bother to see what else we can do. We followed the law. That's what they do to me. And John Maxwell goes on to say, this time it's personal. Among college students, 84% believe the US is experiencing a business crisis. 77% CEOs should be held responsible for it. But the same students, 59% admit they have cheated on tests. 43% of people admit to having engaged in at least one unethical act in the last year. 75% have observed such an act and done nothing about it. It's come to a point in America where you saw what, I don't know if people saw on the news, but that CEO was shot of a medical company in broad daylight. Somebody walked up to me, it looks like a woman, they're saying it's a man, I don't know, but walked up behind him and shot him in broad daylight on the street. I don't know. I never grew up with that mentality that if I couldn't get medical assistance, I've been without medical care for a long time, dental practice and all that. I only got it I had it for the first 4 years of my life at TD, and then I had some coverage, a portion of coverage when I worked at Teleperformance. Other than that, I never had anything. Growing up in Zimbabwe, we used to wait for the vaccines to come. For sometimes we didn't have treatment for the mosquitoes, malaria, and all that. We didn't go up and shoot people saying, oh, because I can't get this, so I'm going to kill you. It's disgusting. So the last point is that companies and all of us have a responsibility to ethics and to social responsibility. I do my share, and the company should do theirs. I'm disgusted with how I've been treated in Canada, because I can tell you now, it's not right. It's not right. I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody like me works hard, does the right things, and looks out for people, mentors them, helps people, brings my mother to Canada from Zimbabwe, and I still can't come up. Because, oh, what about this one? What about that one? Did they grow up with two parents? Yes, they did. Did they live at home while they were studying? Yes, they did. Did they have the support of their parents to do that? Yes, they did. So don't compare me to them, because I'm sick of it. There's no compassion for me. There's no sympathy for me. There's no empathy for me. I've had to do it on my own. And the little money I did get to help me, I'm going to make sure I pay it back to whoever gave it to me. Because what I'm going through, millions of people are going through. Millions of people who do a good job, who are ethical, who are compassionate, who are doing the right things, and then people are coming here illegally from India, buying their papers, buying their citizenship, and they're getting all the top jobs. Why hasn't Bharat Masrani resigned yet? Why hasn't he left yet? He's still there because he wants to leave, making sure that people see that, oh, he did good. He tried to fix the problem that he created. Who of us wouldn't want to work for our own people, for an Indian CEO or somebody that has the same skin color as us, thinking that, yes, this person will have empathy. They'll understand where I came from, what I went through. But I had none of that at TD, none. I had no special treatment. I had no investment in me. I had no money put towards my education, nothing. And the same at Teleperformance. Whatever I did on my own. They didn't help me. So I'm looking for that top paid job. I'm looking for those jobs paying over $75,000 a year. And I'm looking to buy my own property, to have something of my own. Because it's important to me. I've worked hard. And every day it's a new situation. Whatever happened yesterday, you take a new call, it's a new person. You take a new email, it's a different interaction. It's adjusting every day and every moment to every person. That's how call center work is. You're not dealing with the same clients. You're not building relationships with the same people. And I like it that way because sometimes you get people who come to you when you're good at something and they want to keep you on the phone for an hour and a half because they like talking to you. Meanwhile, your scores are suffering. The client saying, oh yeah, you know what, that person's score is not good. We don't need her on the job. But your supervisor will say, you know what, just let them talk to you if they want to talk to you. And you're sitting with headphones. So that person is speaking into your ears. Obviously, at the end of 5 years, you're going to have problems with your ears. You're going to have tinnitus. You're going to have anxiety. It doesn't just happen to me. It happens to everybody that goes through that kind of high stress, high pressure. If you are lucky and if they are compassionate, they'll take you off and they'll put you into a supervisor role because they'll look at your history, not only that last interaction or that last place where your scores were bad. That doesn't happen for me. And I want things to change for me and people like me who are good and who are doing the right things. Not people who are coming in here, screwing Canada over, screwing their countries over, And yet they're getting all the promotion, all the support. They're getting the top jobs at U of T. They're getting all the good positions. And because their families have been in Knights of Columbus and done things, they're getting the support and I'm not. And it's not right. I've helped a lot of people, not just in Canada, but in South Africa, in Zimbabwe. I've helped a lot of organizations. If I ask them for help, they'll say, oh, why don't you go to Fred Victor and get a meal there? Have you not humiliated me enough? I want a job. I don't want to go to Fred Victor and get a meal there. I want a good paid job so that I can work and go to the grocery store and buy food that is fresh, not get food that is expiring or has expired. I deserve it. So there's some questions that you can think about and that I have reflected on, which I've answered in my talk. When you think of the subject of ethics, what is your gut reaction, positive or negative? The second point is, do you use one set of behavioral standards for all areas of your life, or depending on who you're with and what you're doing? Are you using the same standards at work and at home with clients, family members, while playing ball or helping at church? Do you believe it's possible and desirable to use just one standard in every area of your life? And then who do you look up to and admire? List the qualities describing that person and why you think of them as ethical and somebody that you trust. And what are you currently using as an ethical guideline to help you in your life? In our Christian tradition, we say, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. But we also have to remember that our church has done things to us and to others that are not ethical, especially when it comes to apartheid. And I will not forget it, and I will not let others forget. It's not about forgive and forget. That's not it. I'm not Mandela, so don't come tell me don't hold on to bitterness and all that. I am not Mandela. I'm not. He was our icon. We know what he did for the country. We know what he did for the world. I'm not Mandela. And until things change for me and I get that good paying job and I'm able to travel and have my luxury cars and my home and all the things I worked for, I'm not going to give up. Mandela must have gone to heaven, because believe you me, I am not Mandela. I've witnessed people being attacked by dogs in streets. I've walked down streets that are full of blood. I've lived through war. So don't tell me don't hold on to bitterness. Especially those executives at TD. They can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. All of them. For what they did to the bank, what they did to me, what they've done to this country. I'm sick of it.